To today's lesson, I literally have never been able to find a decent entry point into how to make this video because how do you do that when the topic is suicide by a nuclear bomb? But after Israel bombed occupied Syria in the Golan Heights and killed 12 members of the Syrian Druze community, mainly children, in an effort to blame it on Hezbollah to then bomb Beirut, Lebanon, and kill a number of Lebanese the next day, and then last night assassinated the leader of Hamas, Ismail Haniyeh, only after first killing 60+ members of his family, including his children and his grandchildren in Gaza, I feel like the universe is handing me the entryway on a silver platter. So today we're going to learn about the Samson option. The Samson option is a term to describe Israel's plan to use its nuclear weapons on itself and the literal world, as by that point Israel will determine that the world is its enemy, if Israel ever faces a situation where its existence is threatened, aka mutual destruction. Now, if you're wondering, does Israel have nuclear weapons? That's because it's something that has always been speculated, but Israel maintains a policy of deliberate ambiguity, never officially denying nor admitting to having nuclear weapons. However, in 1979, a US surveillance satellite called Vela 6911 or 6911, whatever, picked up a double flash of light in the Indian Ocean halfway between Africa and Antarctica that was consistent with the detonation of a nuclear bomb. This eventually led to a paper called Israeli Nuclear Weapons that was published in 2021, where since 1979, researchers estimate that Israel possesses anywhere from 75 to 400 nuclear weapons, with 90 nuclear weapons being the most commonly agreed upon number. In that paper, researchers have also determined that Israel's nuclear arsenal can be delivered via aircraft, land-based missiles, and sea-based cruise missiles. In other words, Israel has enough nuclear weapons to destroy the entirety of this planet from the land, sea, and air. Back to the Samson option. The name comes from the biblical story of Samson, who supposedly destroyed a Philistine temple by pulling down its pillars, saying, "Let me die with the Philistines," not only killing his enemies, but also himself. So the idea behind the Samson option, which is to be used as a last resort, is to deter Israel's enemies by making them think twice about attacking Israel, knowing that Israel could, and as we've all gotten on board with now after witnessing that Israel has no limits, making it very likely that they would respond with devastating force. And before anyone tries to discredit the very real threat of the existence of a plan like the Samson option, Israeli politicians and prime ministers have discussed this plan in the past quite publicly. Here are some of their quotes. Former Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin was quoted in a 1983 interview in the New York Times saying, "Israel cannot afford to be defeated. We are not just a country that will go under if we lose a war. We will react in a way that will make it clear to our enemies that our destruction is not a simple matter." Former Defense Minister Moshe Dayan was quoted saying, "Israel must be like a mad dog, too dangerous to bother," which many researchers and analysts believe to be in reference to the Samson option. There have also been a number of accounts and interpretations suggesting that former Prime Minister Ariel Sharon alluded to severe retaliation in the event of an existential threat to Israel. And former Prime Minister and Defense Minister Ehud Barak has emphasized in interviews and statements Israel's need for a robust deterrence capability. The key takeaway from all of these quotes being the acknowledgement of Israeli officials making sure the world knows that if Israel were to ever cease to exist, they would prefer to take the entirety of the world down with it. Why do you need to know about this now? Well, the events over the past few days that we spoke about in the beginning of this video all allude to the idea that Israel is pushing for a regional war in an effort to take over the entirety of the Levant and some surrounding areas to form that greater Israel that we discussed in another video about their ever-expanding borders on the map. Very simply, per the research and analyses by experts in the area, Israel has declared a war that it is not expected to win, and that could and likely will threaten the state's very existence. And they've been very clear on how they plan on acting if and when it comes to that. Listen to the oppressed when we tell you about our oppressors because we know them best. And we prove that every time. But even if you didn't want to listen to us, at least look into the history of the fall of every cult, which again, I think that we've all agreed that it's safe to declare Israeli society as a cult. How do they all end? Murder-suicide, of course.